So that they can see the first part. Can you see now the presentation? Okay. So as what I'm saying, so this is an example of the newsletter that we produce in the coconut. So you would see here the nameplate. So the nameplate actually is the engraved or printed name, the logo or symbol of the newspaper. We have here the banner photo, which is the main photo of your front page, the banner story, the infographic, and the news feature. The other examples, or the other example is the column, or for this newsletter, we have the column. The editorial board or the masthead, which includes the details of the publisher, the place of publication, editorial stop, and information about the newspaper. You also have some information about the columnist, and then the main editorial and editorial cartoon. So in making the page design, there are also some guidelines that we need to consider. So the first one is to have a focal point. So a focal point is the most dominant visual magnet on a page. It catches the eyes of the reader and leads him where to start his trip through the page. If there is no focal point, the reader's eyes will wander on the page and nothing will catch them. So basically, you just need to have one distinct or dominant visual magnet on your page. Then the second one, you should design with a purpose. A page designer has to think of the reader when planning a design for the paper. It should make the page easy and attractive for the readers to read the article. And then of course, we have to keep it simple because simplicity is the key to modern design. And then another one is to maintain design unity and consistency. All parts of a page and everything on it must complement or relate each other. Consistency helps unify the page. And the last one that we need to consider is design should have contrast and balance. If your headlines, pictures, backs articles, and others are all crowded on one side of the page, you are putting too much weight on that side at the expense of the opposite side. To solve this, if there is a large dark element like headline or picture on the paper, or on the upper left side of the page, you can balance it by placing two smaller elements like backstory and smaller pictures on the lower right side of the page. So aside from the guidelines, we need to consider also the principles on making page design. So we have balance, proximity or unity, alignment, repetition and consistency, the contrast, emphasis, white space, and movement. So first is the balance and proportion. So balance and proportion, it means visual. May we request our participant to mute your microphone, please? Thank you. So balance and proportion, this is a visual balance comes from arranging elements on the page so that no section is heavier than the other. So pages, just the same as on this example, should not seem top or bottom heavy. Balance can be done by having like or unlike units balance each other. Okay, so you would see on this example that on the left backs, you would see that the photo is actually enlarged rather than in the second example or in the left example. Next one is the proximity and unity. So in design, proximity or closeness creates a band between people and between elements on the page. You have to use consistent external and internal margins, and other graphics can create unity and even simple rules or lines. Unity involves the art of making all sections of the newspaper appear to come from the same family but still allowing individuality within the various parts. So the contents and graphics should blend into a harmonious unit. So no part of the page should overshadow entirely another part of a page, although there is an existence of a dominant point of interest. So this is the example for proximity and unity. Another one is the alignment. Alignment brings order to chaos in a parking lot and on a piece of paper. So how you align type and graphics on a page and in relation to each other can make your layout easier or more difficult to read. So you have to foster familiarity or bring excitement to a stale design. So just the same with this example, you would see that the right example, or the example on the right side, is actually stale or dry in layout, unlike on the left side, wherein you put the cars or your graphics in proper order. So that's alignment. Another principle is the repetition or the consistency. So when we have the repetition and consistency, it's repeating design elements and consistent use of type and graphic styles within a document shows a reader where to go and helps them navigate your designs and layouts safely. So you only need to use only one typeface family instead of several families of types. If you decide to use kickers, subheads, and others, be sure to repeat these elements on every page. So later on the next presentation or on the next part of this session, you would be able to determine what are the typefaces that I am referring to. So this is actually example. So if you use a box or a circle or a triangle on the first page, so you have to be consistent because consistency gives the newspaper a distinct personality. So another principle of design is contrast. Okay, so in design, the use of opposites in size, shape, and weight, big and small elements, black and white text, squares, and circles can all create contrast in design. So this is achieved by making the most important item on the page stand out from everything else. So blacker, more colorful, or more unusually shaped. So it can also be achieved by making all the other items to point to the main item or by putting it in a different setting. Just the same with this. I remember during our seminar in campus journalism, one of our speakers mentioned about putting a photo at the back of a text, which is more important. Will it be the text or the photo? And some of the participants actually answered that it should be the text or either the photo, but actually they are both important. So to give way, you just need to properly align where should you put the photo and where you should put the text. So another one is the emphasis. So in order to achieve emphasis, news should be displayed according to importance. The news value of every story must determine on what page it should find print, its position on the page, and the style and size of its headline. So as an editor, you have to decide which elements are most important or visually interesting. Remember that you have to display the news which is the most important one to the least important or according to its importance. And then another one for the principle is the white space. So the white space designs, these are the designs that try to cram too much text and graphics onto the page or uncomfortable and may be impossible to read. White space gives you design a breathing room. So in short, you need not to have a text-heavy page. It should be more pleasing to the eye of your reader. So you have to add some breathing space or breathing room, or instead a white space on your layout. Next is the movement. So effective makeup should not be stilted or monotonous. A desirable rhythm directs the eye from one part of the page to another. So from the most important to the least important, as what I mentioned a while ago. So aside from these principles, we also have the different page makeup for the front page and for the inside pages. So for the front page makeup, we have the perfect balance makeup, the brace or focus makeup, the broken column makeup, streamlined makeup, the circus makeup, and we also have the occult or hidden makeup. So let's start with the perfect balance. So in a balanced makeup, like elements, same types and sizes, or placed opposite each other with some white spaces or pictures in between. So how are we going to do that? So a large headline is placed, for example, in the right-hand column, front page, is balanced with the corresponding large one in the first and second column. The other headlines are similarly arranged. A one-column cut at the top of the column 4. This kind of makeup gives a static, monotonous appearance to the paper. Remember that it should not be made from issue to issue because it's somewhat, again, as what I said, is monotonous. Okay, or it would look like it would just be a stale design. So it's just the same as what I said on the example given on the left side on your screen. So another front page, so you can actually have maybe an idea of what to use during your front page making up. So the second example that you could probably use is the brace or the focus makeup. So the brace or focus makeup, the display elements make a pattern slanting downward from left to right across the page. So headlines are diagonally arranged from the upper left to the lower right hand corner or vice versa. So just like a brace supporting a house. So balance is obtained by various devices such as two column heads, boxes, and cuts, which are used to offset the weight concentrated in the upper right or upper left hand corner. This kind of makeup is desirable to use when one story is more important than any other because the reader's attention is directed to the upper right hand corner or occasionally to the upper left. So this makeup or this layout highlights one very important story. Okay, so if you want to highlight only one very important story, so you may probably adopt the brace or focus makeup. The another type of front page makeup is the broken column makeup. So this page is broken into several units to give space to many stories. Symmetry is obtained by carefully arranging the contents so as not to cancel each other by their nearness. So large heads and cuts are placed where they give the page a pleasing pattern. This kind of makeup is developed primarily to be able to print as many short news stories on page 1 as possible. So if you have many stories in your school, or you want to put many things in your front page, so probably you can have this broken column makeup. Another one is the streamlined makeup. So the format is similar with that of contrast and balance makeup. However, the nameplate is usually floated. Headlines are flashed up in cap and lowercase type, and large body types are used. Instead of boxing stories in full, 3/4 boxes are restored too. So you often use bullets, asterisks, or gym dashes to employ or to introduce the lead stories. This is actually common in high school papers or in school publication. So that's a streamlined makeup. Another one is the circus makeup. So the circus makeup, the format is anything goes. Each item is clamoring for attention. It is broken column carried to the extreme. The page is broken up with no attempt at regularity, symmetry, or order. Many headlines of all sizes, boxes, and cuts are scattered all over the page, each clamoring for attention and screaming as Barker's Carnival Circus 2. There is no focus of interest. The best example for the circus makeup are the tabloids that we are having in our public circulation. So aside from the circus makeup, the streamline, the broken, the perfect balance, we also have the occult makeup. So the occult makeup, the type groups are arranged in varying distances from the center like the two boys on a seesaw. So there is no attempt to achieve perfect balance. This one is the most popular one, kind of front page makeup, since it permits great variety from issue to issue. So aside from the streamlined makeup, occult makeup is actually being used by the high school publication. So you can adapt that also. So we know that the front page makeup shows or becomes the window of our paper, but of course we need not to confine to this page alone. So aside from making this beautiful or creative, we also need to make our inside pages better or best. Okay, So aside from the front page or the news page, we also have the editorial page. So we are already on the inside. So editorial page, this page should have a distinctive, dignified, and formal appearance. The masthead or editorial box, which should be relatively small, may be anchored in any corner as done in streamlined newspapers. Traditionally, the editorials appear in the first two columns. They are larger types, heads or titles of editorials, just like the headlines of news stories, should be the masculine appearance and not the italic or script type. So in short, the keyword for editorial page, this is the most dignified or formal in appearance among the other pages. So you need not to put any graphics or any creative designs for this page. Just make it formal in appearance. Another page for the inside is the feature page. Okay, so when we have it for the feature page, this page have a literary and feminine appearance. So the columns are often wider, so you may use here the Roman and italics types for the use of the text. So unlike with the editorial, which is formal in appearance, so the feature page this time is more feminine, or it's feminine in style. You can use the Roman or the italicized, or you can use a different font, unlike with the front page or in the editorial page. And for the last, we have the sports page. So this page has a bolder but more lively appearance than the other pages. Their makeup should suggest their content, action, speed, and color. Large bold heads, even streamers are used. So I will repeat, for the editorial, it's more formal in appearance. For the feature page, we have a feminine in appearance. But for the sports page, this suggests action, speed, and color. So you can use here bold heads or even streamers. You can use it here. So remember that when you are using, or remember that when you are page designing or doing the page makeup, it is just a matter of personal taste. There are actually no absolute criteria for laying out the page or pages of a newspaper or a magazine. Therefore, the layout artist may experiment freely on page makeup until he gets the pattern that is acceptable to him. I know that you have some questions on your mind, but I want to request that you may post your questions later after the second part and the third part, because on the second part it would really mainly focus on the newsletter production. So as of this time, I will be giving the floor to the second speaker, which is Ms Aluinda Puno, for the newsletter production. Thank you. Before Ms Aluinda Puno, I'm giving the floor to our layout artist, who is Kelvyn Manalo, to demonstrate to you how to properly lay out these kind of examples that I have mentioned a while ago. Thank you.
Nasa downloads mo. Hindi po. Ay, downloads. Okay, so good afternoon, and I'm going to show you the sample of my layout or of a page design of a newsletter. So this is what results on my front page, and at the front page I have my banner picture, which is the speaker, and then the nameplate above, which has the official publication and your school, the volume number, and that's then below it is the main article which has a kicker which I emphasizes. So I put it in different color and in a bold and with a bold font. And then below it is the headline, the House Bill 6221, and then I have here the byline or the writer's name, and here is the caption of the photo with this graphic cameras for showing that this is a caption from the photojournalist. And then the next is the editorial page. So here above is the folio, and in doing the folio, you should make it small because making it big takes up too much space at the newsletter. So here we have our main editorial here with the editorial cartoon, and then here are the editorial columns with some graphics and the name of the writer. So in here I put parentheses like in this article to show the separation of the two articles. And here is the editorial board or the masthead. So, which was stated earlier that editorial is the formal page of the newsletter. So in here I just used two different font families which are for the headlines and for the text. So this is the features page. And there's the folio, and in this page you could use different font styles, but I prefer on using 3 to 4 only with the three different family font styles and in the headlines, and just the same font style on the body. So there we still have the bylines, and in here we have graphics which makes it more appealing to the eyes, and like this one din. And I used in my headlines I used two different colors just for being creative for the article. Lastly, this is the sports page. In the sports page and in the front page, you could use the same page designs. So here is the nameplate with the folio of the sports, the same volume number and issue number with the official publication of the school. So here I have my captions, and with the same page design I had my banner head here in bold letters and in a colored field. So that's. And then this is what they're saying, that you should balance the page. So here I have a banner photo and And so that if it will not be heavier in this left side, I put picture on the right side below so that it would be equal in the eyes. And also I put this another parenthesis like for the separation of the articles, because if you didn't separate it, it will look like it's a subhead or such. In making this in the publisher, it's open. So in here we have, in this front we have the publisher, and in here we should make a A4 size in the newsletter. We can edit it in the page design, the size, and then the A4 portrait with the 0.5 margins. And I prefer using four columns, so for the uniformity. So in making the columns, go to the page design, the guides, and then go to the grid and baseline guides and make the column into 4. And also you could see some color schemes in here that suggested color schemes for the newsletter. And in doing opacity, we could make a shape, then fill it with colors, and then press this button in the shape styles. And there is the transparency, which could make it lessen. And in printing the newsletter, we go to the printer properties, and change the paper size for A4 so that it would not be cut or. And then once you are done, or you are satisfied with the work of your newsletter, you could go to the file and save it, and prefer to save it in a document. In doing some graphics, you could have your creativity with it, because using some shapes, like making a person, so you could use a circle and then and with the pentagon. So in that you could definitely make a live person-like graphic for the column, and then place it with And also in selecting a color scheme, it is better to use a light colored and a dark for it to be contrast, and it would look better in like that. It would look better if you would use dark color and light color. And also for the camera, I did was make a square with curved with the curved edges. So then and then I use the circle side. And then the other one for the lens, you could also use the pentagon here and just twist it around. So that's for all. That's all for today.
Hello participants, sorry for the delay. I'd like to proceed now to the newsletter production. I hope you can see my screen. Okay, good, okay. Okay, in the newsletter production, first impression, well, we do have a saying that first impression lasts. So, when you come up with your newsletter, make sure it impresses the reader, not only in the content but also in the design. So, before we proceed to the production itself, let us prepare our dummy sheets so that the articles that you would like to lay out are actually arranged according to importance and how you're going to present it. Not only that, be ready also with the photos that you will need for your newsletter. And we have to come up and we have to make sure that the newsletter that you would like to prepare will not be that complex. So again, as what Ma'am Arlene have mentioned earlier, simplicity is the best design. I guess I have said this already. I'm over now. When you come up with your newsletter, for us, we normally choose 4 columns for our layout. But you may have a 3-column newsletter. You only have to think of how you're going to present your articles. But it would be very best, I would suggest that it would be a 3-column newsletter. It's very easy to balance your article with your photos. Unlike, or a 4-column article with a distribution of infographics and photos and the articles, it's very easy to lay out if it is a 4 or a 3-column newsletter. If you prefer the magazine type style wherein articles are bigger and photos are bigger, then I guess you could use the 2-column newsletter. But for this newsletter production for our team, we prefer that it would be either a 3 or a 4-column newsletter. You have to add graphics, since graphics makes the newsletter colorful and at the same time vibrant. Then the photos that you have to choose would actually not only blend with the chosen color, but will actually stand out. Not to overdo in the sense that it will cover the content of the article. At least it will balance. We prefer to use blank empty templates instead of the ready-made templates provided by any software that you're going to use in your publication. Although there are so many, we have chosen for this presentation the Microsoft Publisher. One reason is that it is licensed along with the other Microsoft Office. We are not going to promote the other publishing softwares as we might have a problem with the copyrights. So we will use for the one Kelvyn has chosen to present to you, the Microsoft Publisher. There are many templates provided for each Vesta publishing software, but for the newsletter production, for the contest, the TSPC or the RSPC, we prefer the blank templates. We also use columns as part of our layout. As I have mentioned earlier, we prefer the 4 columns since it is very easy to lay out. Third clue that we have is that in the production of the newsletter, we give emphasis on good photos. Not only that it will make our newsletter alive in the sense that it looks colorful enough, but the quality of the photo will also invite readers. Shit, naghang. Sorry, pardon po. For our layout, we prefer to use the moderation of colors. So it was mentioned already that you can choose the color schemes already provided by the publishing software. It would be best also if you choose one dark and one light to balance the layout. But if you were given a chance to do both dark colors, then I guess moderation of the dark part is up to the layout artist. Always remember that in layouting, we always add our school or the company logo. If you do this, you can also add more color to the logo by enhancing it. Okay, it's either you add, you blend it or you put put a border around the logo. But it would be best that you blend your logo with the color that you have chosen for your newsletter. Titles. Since in the newsletter production, we are allowed to use colored, then it would be best our newsletter title will also have color, and not only for the background itself. Now in our layout, I would suggest that you use a maximum of 3 colors, 1 dark, 1 light, and 1 used for border or for any background. Make sure that we will be able to balance these 3 colors, not only in moderation but also in the presentation. Articles. Normally, we place the larger article, which we give importance, in the upper part, and the other 2 articles are with lesser importance are in the lower part. As what Kelvyn has shown to you, this can be arranged according to importance. Now, the articles that you have chosen should at least be concisely written and in the active voice. If you need to edit, please edit more. As much as possible, we do editing 3 times before we actually publish it. Not only for the size, but also for clarity, the conciseness of the information, and the jargon that needs to be used to make the article applicable to the page that is chosen. Like for example, in the sports, we do add sports jargon so that the article will come out as action. The length and the accuracy depends on the importance of the article as well as in the layout. So it is best that this is agreed upon by the editor-in-chief and the writer. Do not forget to quote your source. It is always a common practice by writers to forget the source of their information. Please don't. It is a must that we include the source of our information. Titles. It was mentioned in the news writing, sports writing, editorial writing, and feature writing that the title of the articles really stand out in any publication. So it would be best that you choose short titles that are eye-catching. Introduction or the lead normally answers 3 questions: the who, what, and where. But for others, we come up with what and so what. It's still the same. So the basic information are provided in the lead of the article. This should be at least a summary of the important points of the article, and then the succeeding paragraphs will provide the detailed information of the article. In the layout, we normally use a maximum of 3 font styles. 1 for the headline, 1 for the text, and 1 for the caption. We make it a point that the caption has a separate typeface than the headline and the text. Consistency of the typefaces from the first page down to the last page should be practiced. Sizes will also determine the quality of the newsletter. So we have 2 sizes only for the text. 1 for the headline and another for the article. Sometimes, if the article is too long, we divide this and we add subheads. so that the article will not look boring, as in it is too lengthy. That's why we break it up using subheads. Now the subheads will actually be the third font size added in a page. Sorry, it should be the fourth added subhead if there is no caption included. But if there is, it will be the fourth. And this is more smaller than the headline, but it's actually bigger than the text size. So we normally add 0.5 or 1 point for the subhead, and then we bold it so that it will come out as bigger and it looks like a title. To separate now the articles and to avoid tombstoning, we do add boxes or column boxes. For the column boxes, you have an option of making it a complete box or just a half box or a partial box. The point there is we have to separate one article to the other article so that it will not come out as it is tombstoning. Since newsletters are smaller than our newspapers, we have limited space. That's why there are times wherein when we lay out 3 articles or 4 articles, there are 2 articles that will come out as tombstoning if we do not use boxes. Another is, there is somehow a suggestion that for articles to be written in a newsletter, there should be a variety, and this can only be done if there are so many writers. 3 writers for 3 articles or 4 writers for 4 articles. But in reality, I'm sure if you are doing the newsletter production for any contests, there may arise a situation wherein we only have 1 writer for the 3 articles on a page. If this happens, the best that we can do is approach the article or write the article in 3 different ways. How you're going to do that is up to the editor. So you have to discuss it with the members for you to decide on what style of writing you're going to use. Newsletter editors should provide the clear directions to writers, not only in the topic of the article, but also in the structure, the length, and of course, the most important of all, the deadline. The main points may be given by the editor, but as much as possible, if the editor will give the main points, the variety of the newsletter will somehow vary also, since we have only 1 editor. So the chosen main points of the editor will be somehow 1 line only. I mean, the specific points are given already. The variety or the variation of the how you write the article will not be followed. What the editor likes, the editor gets. So that's the problem with following the editor always. But if the editor will give your writers a free hand in choosing the style of writing, the variety that is best advised will come out. Bylines. This is a must for all writers, so that recognition of the article will be given. Not only that, it also invites more contribution from other writers. For the typing or the encoding of the article, I would suggest single space line spacing and single space for the word also, along with the paragraphs. Although it will not look like a newsletter if it is double spaced. So it is suggested that we use single space, since the space is only limited as the newsletter is smaller than our newspaper. Font size should be consistent from the front page down to the back page. There are at least 3. One font size for the headline, one font size for the article, and one font size for the caption or the subhead. Left alignment is always practiced. We do not practice the center alignment or the justified. Sorry po. So, the left alignment gives the text a little bit of white space. That's why it looks not too crowded, so we use the left alignment. Graphics or photos should be facing the inside page. So, if it is placed on the right column or the last column, make sure that the subject of your photo is facing inside, not outside, or what we call falling out. Larger graphics or photos are normally placed on top, and the others are placed at the bottom. Use drop caps only in the upper part. It does not look good if it is also used in the lower part of your layout. Use the rule of thirds. Always remember, photos should follow the rule of thirds in capturing the subject itself. In the layout, we also practice the rule of thirds, wherein the photos are placed on the thirds. Do not use fancy borders in your articles. When you place a box around an article to separate this from the other article, please use only solid color borders. It may be colored as long as it follows the 2-color scheme that you have used from the first page down to the last page. Masthead or your editorial box are always placed together with your editorial articles on the editorial page. For the folio part, wherein we write our date of issue, number of issue, sometimes we also add place of issue. Always place the folio from first page down to the last page. Acknowledge if there are contributors who are not included in the editorial box. Please add their name as a way of saying thank you. Now we go to the last part of our session. Now we come up with the newsletter. But before that, I'd like to show some examples. Sorry, I was too in a hurry. This is now our output. We are to provide an A4 newsletter composed of 4 pages. 1 page for news, 1 page for editorial, 1 page for features, and 1 page for sports. Composition of each page. For the news page, we have 3 news articles. Editorial page, 1 editorial proper, 2 columns, and 1 editorial cartoon. For the first features page, we have 3 articles. I'm giving you a free hand of the articles, but this is just a suggestion. Any topic from a press conference or any personality sketch of your layout artist maybe, or any article that you would like to include in your feature page. Sports page. If you do have intramurals in your school or any sports event, you may use this as your articles for the sports page. We need only 3 articles. 1 coverage, 1 sports editorial, and 1 sports analysis. This is the output for the session. You may submit this until the first week of October so that you may receive your certificates. We will judge this for a week and we will post right after the deadline a week after the deadline, who the winners are. This is now my example of newsletters. This one in the regional schools press conference. I can't remember if it was last year or the other year. This is the news page, editorial page. We have one cartoon, 3 articles, and we have the masthead in the lower corner. Feature page. And the last, of course, sports page. Pardon the photo that was shown in the sports page. This was taken using a video. That's why it's so blurred. But then, if it is an actual game that you have taken, then you could produce a better quality of photo than what we have here. This was done in a contest, so we were in a hurry. This is how it must look when it is facing. This is the layout. Take note of the distribution of the articles, the design, the text, the font color, and the font size. Again, another facing page. So that this ends all. Our sources for this session are the following: by Sir Ari Solis, by Sir Angelito Belmonte, by Sir Raymond Bermudez, by Jose Cruz, our own layout artist Kim Navaja, by Jelly Alejo Alpino, Alex Maxino, and Erlo L. Dumo. If you do have questions, you may now type your questions in our chat box. Sorry. Okay. Include sample layouts. Okay, ma'am. We have already shown sample layouts. This will be included in the video that we're going to upload also. In the software that we have used now is Desktop Publisher. No. As much as possible, we have 2 actual margin in our layout. We have the internal and the external. The external is wherein the layout, the margin provided by the template provided by the software that you're going to use is what we call the external margin. Each column is actually guided by a margin already. But when we do type our text, it should still be given another internal margin between the column guide provided by the software and your text, so that the text will not come out as crowded in the column. This also, for the graphics, I think it is accepted to have what we call bleeding of an photo, since it will come out as it actually artistic, but it must not go beyond the margin provided by the software or the template. Other questions po? Dalawa lang. That is also our problem, ma'am. But if you try to explore the software and you try to show a little bit of adventure, in the sense that you add new ways in your publication, then maybe you could get their attention as well as their approval. If it looks good, why not? I'm not quite sure about the text alignment because we only have one rule when it comes to the software and the alignment of text. But if you're referring to using 2 columns, 3 columns for an article, I guess it can be allowed. For example, in the news page, in the banner story, we may use 3 columns, but we divide the 3 columns into 2 columns. The actual layout is 4, but when we lay out the article, we only use 2 columns. That is allowed. For the editorial page, we also have, when we use the proper, or we lay out the proper editorial, we use 2 columns for 1 article only. This is allowed. Oh, traditional. If we use the justify, the text sometimes will not look good since there are some lines in the paragraph that will come out as white space. Am I correct? So if this happens, it will not look good. Judges may not approve or may not favor your publication. For example, if you're assigned to do news page, you may, let's say, vary the articles into, let's say, 1 straight news or 2 straight news and 1 news feature. That is actually giving variety of your page. If it is now, let's say, editorial, maybe you could for the proper editorial, you have to think of the stand of the group, right? But for the column, you could add your opinion. As the writer, you may give the negative and the other column positive. That is another example of a variety. Oh, for Ms. Yabit, I guess maybe you could somehow show them an example of a new layout. Maybe they will agree if you actually come up with a good layout. Or maybe you could show an example or borrow the newsletter that we have shown you to show your your head maybe that this is the new trend of layouting, so that there is a basis for your adventurous layout. Are there other questions? Have I answered all of your questions? So I guess this is it. We will be waiting for your output until the first week of October. I do hope everyone will submit so that you can get your certificates. And of course, it is best to show your work so that we could also help you out in giving you advices or comments or for improvement purposes. Our leader of the team, Mr. Ilumbaring, will post where and when is the deadline. Let us wait for further announcement, ma'am. Along with the video that we're going to post in the link that we are assigned, we will also give the rest of the instructions for the output. So that's it for the day. Thank you all for attending. Thank you, sir.
Ano, out na tayo?
Pinatay ko na dito.
Wala na. Out na tayo.
Okay, let's.
I'm waiting. Record ko lang yung first ko. Okay na